News is coming in thick and fast about the Beckham feud, because this is no longer just about a wedding dance, or a badly timed song, or even a public family row. This is about a reported ultimatum, a relationship red flag, and a choice that changes everything. Before we go any further, subscribe now, because this story is evolving fast, and what happens next will define the Beckham family for years. For weeks, the internet has been arguing about one moment, 3 minutes, one song, one dance. But behind the scenes, something much bigger was happening, because according to multiple reports, that moment triggered an ultimatum that no healthy relationship should ever demand. It's me or her. You can't have both. Those are the words Nicola Peltz is said to have given Brooklyn Beckham. And if that's true, this feud is no longer just messy. It's dangerous. Let's rewind. Brooklyn Beckham's 6-page statement didn't just shock the public, it detonated his family. In it, he accused his mother, Victoria Beckham, of hijacking his wedding day, of dancing inappropriately with him, of humiliating both him and his new wife. Strong language, deliberate language that doesn't come from nowhere. And when the statement dropped, the internet immediately took sides. Team Brooklyn, Team Nicola, Team Victoria. But then came the detail that changed the entire tone of the story. The ultimatum. According to reports attributed to a wedding staff member, Nicola didn't see the dance as an isolated incident. She saw it as the final straw. Not just a mistake, not just bad timing, but proof, in her eyes, that boundaries would never be respected. And so, after the wedding, she reportedly drew a line. Me or her. No middle ground, no compromise, no space for reconciliation. And here's where this story turns uncomfortable. Because ultimatums don't come from confidence, they come from fear. Let's be very clear about this. Healthy relationships do not demand isolation. They do not force partners to choose between spouses and parents. They do not frame love as a zero-sum game. And yet, according to what's been reported, Brooklyn was put in exactly that position. Choose your wife, or choose your mother. And if that choice was truly demanded, that's not romance. That's control. What makes this even more explosive is what happened next. Brooklyn didn't push back. He didn't publicly defend his mother. He didn't ask for calm. He went nuclear. A public statement. Detailed accusations. Language designed to close doors, not open them. And suddenly, a private family conflict became a global spectacle. Now enter the only person who was actually in the room, DJ Fat Tony, a longtime friend of the Beckhams, the wedding DJ. The man standing feet away when it all happened. And his account complicates everything, because he confirms the moment was awkward, but not malicious, not planned, not sinister. He says the dance happened because Mark Anthony called Victoria onto the stage. He says Brooklyn looked uncomfortable, not because of his mother, but because his first dance wasn't with his bride. He says Nicola left the room in tears, and that matters, because context matters. Here's the crucial point. No one disputes that Nicola was hurt. No one disputes that emotions were high. But pain does not justify ultimatums, especially not ones that demand emotional exile. Now let's talk about Brooklyn Beckham, because this is where sympathy and concern collide. Brooklyn is newly married, emotionally overwhelmed, caught between loyalty and love. And when someone you love says, "If you don't choose me, you lose me," that isn't a choice. It's coercion, and it often works. What we're seeing now is the aftermath of that pressure. Victoria pictured for the first time since the statement, downcast, head low, avoiding cameras, a woman who didn't just lose face. She lost access to her son, and that should make everyone pause. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Parents make mistakes, weddings go wrong, moments get misread, but cutting off family is irreversible, and once that door closes, reopening it becomes almost impossible. What's striking is how absolute the reported stance appears to be. Nicola allegedly refusing to attend any event involving David or Victoria. No dinners, no holidays, no peace talks. And that rigidity raises serious questions. Not about blame, but about power. Relationships thrive on balance, on communication, on boundaries that go both ways. Ultimatums destroy that balance. They don't resolve conflict, they freeze it. And here's where this story hooks into something much bigger. Because this isn't just about the Beckhams. It's about a dynamic we see again and again. A partner enters a close family, feels threatened, feels overshadowed, feels insecure, and instead of building bridges, they burn them. If Nicola felt outshone at her wedding, that pain is valid. But the solution is conversation, not elimination. Boundaries, not banishment. Now consider this. Brooklyn didn't just side with his wife privately, he did it publicly, in a way that ensured maximum damage, which suggests something else was happening behind the scenes. Pressure, fear of loss, a need to prove loyalty at any cost. And that's why this ultimatum matters more than the dance ever did. Because dances end, ultimatums linger. Let's talk about the long game. Because even if Brooklyn believes he's doing the right thing now, what happens in 5 years? 10? When children are involved? When reconciliation becomes necessary? Because ultimatums don't age well. They turn into resentment. And here's the most chilling part. If someone can ask you to choose once, they can ask you again. Now, to be fair, Nicola hasn't publicly confirmed this ultimatum, and Brooklyn hasn't addressed it directly. But silence speaks, especially when actions align with the reports. Victoria hasn't responded publicly. David hasn't lashed out. There's no counter-statement, just absence. And that absence feels heavy. So where does this leave us? With a family fractured, a marriage under intense scrutiny, and a young man who may one day realize that the choice he was forced to make wasn't really a choice at all. Because love doesn't ask you to erase your past. It doesn't demand you abandon your family, and it certainly doesn't punish you for trying to hold both. The Beckham feud isn't over. If anything, it's entering its most dangerous phase, because once ultimatums replace dialogue, there are no winners. And that's why this story matters. Not for the memes, not for the headlines, but for what it says about power, control, and emotional pressure behind closed doors. If you've been following this story, you already know. This is bigger than a wedding. And if you want the next update the moment it drops, subscribe now. Because this feud is far from finished.